Because of autumn and because of daylight savings time in New Hampshire, my light is going to be really wonky until I get a better schedule to film videos, so I may look a little bit orange. Hey BookTube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March. Today's video is brought to you by Anger and Resentment. I was debating whether to make this video, but I thought, you know what? I'm not the only one who feels this way. And I thought I want to talk about this. Not to be negative or cynical or whatever word you want to use. This video is about hate reading. Do you hate read any books? I have done so in the past. The primary reason is it was either a book that I needed to be able to discuss in my book group, or it was a buddy read that I didn't want to bail on, or in one case, it was so bad of a book that I couldn't stop myself because I wanted to tear it apart, and I did. So I wanted to talk to you about a few books today. A few of them I've already filmed rant videos, and I'm going to link those individual videos down below in the description box. So I'm not going to say too much more about those books, but I do have others that I think I may have already talked about. I know there's one for sure that was before my time on BookTube. Maybe a couple of them actually. So let me just get started. The first one I wanted to talk to you about is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I know, this is a well-loved book on BookTube. Honestly, I don't know why. I don't get it. If you love Beartown, that's very good. Good for you, and everybody has a right to their opinions. I honestly hope I don't need to explain that out loud because we're all adults here. We can love or hate a book whenever we want. For me, Beartown was an awful book. I read the whole thing because it was a book group book. And this was one of the only novels that I ever took a highlighter to and highlighted the shit out of that thing. So, Beartown is the story of a hockey town. And this is a town in a cold climate, very snowy and icy. And they have a junior hockey team, boys hockey team. So many times this book is described as a hockey book, but what it is supposed to be, or what it has been described as, I'm going to read part of the description from Goodreads. It says, Beartown explores the hopes that bring a small community together, the secrets that tear it apart, and the courage it takes for an individual to go against the grain. In this story of a small forest town, Fredrik Backman has found the entire world. I don't know what the heck that means, but it's a really poor example of some publisher editing marketing, some pithy sentence that doesn't make any sense. It is the story of a town that is known for their boys hockey team, and this reminds me very much of the rape trial and the Supreme Court trial of Brett Kavanaugh and Christine Blasey Ford. This is the story of a small town sexual assault of a high school girl by a member of the hockey team. It blows the community apart. It blows the town apart. The girl's father is the police chief, and he knows every single person in the town. He knows all of the boys on the team. I think he may have been a coach, or he is a coach. There's a lot going on. Why I hated this book is the way Backman treated rape and the way he treated the dialogue of the high school students. In my book group, the majority of us are parents, and many of us have had teenage or grown children. And several of us kept saying, teenage kids don't talk like that. And it was totally unrealistic, the conversation and the dialogue these boys were having. And many of us have boys. I don't, but many of my friends have boys. They've been around boys groups and sports teams, and they've heard boys talking amongst themselves, and we were all in agreement. Teenagers are just not like this. And so I don't know where Backman got those stereotypes. Hockey is a huge part of the book when there is a rape sequence in the book. if you're going to use rape as a plot device, you need to concentrate on that. That needs to be something you explore and you analyze. You don't just drop it in to create a conflict for the hockey team and to talk about what happens with the team, what happens with the town, what if the families that are pitted against each other. I thought it was offensive and insulting. I thought it was wrong to use a sexual assault like that, as I said, a plot point. And I just thought it was a horrible book. So, yeah, did not like that one. One of the worst books I've read in many years, I've already done a rant video for early on in my booktube career, and that is Lisa Taddeo's 3 Women. This was a book that started off as her embedding herself in the lives of these women. She initially wanted to write a book that covered many, many women, but there were only so many who were willing to give her this type of intimate access into what she describes as their sex lives. But the book turned out to be only about 3 individuals, and they are Lena, Sloane, and Maggie. So this should be called The Grossly Dysfunctional Sex Traumas of 3 White Women. That should have been the title of the book. I'm not going to say too much about this book because of my rant video linked below. This was a hot mess of a book. And in the preface or in the intro, Taddeo talks about a sexually harassing experience her mother experienced when Lisa Taddeo was a younger child or a teen, and that her mother experienced on the streets. And then eventually she realized that her mother, in some twisted way, was enjoying this type of sexual attention. So she kept thinking about that event and wanted to write a book on women's desire. And the inside flap of the book, all of the marketing language is, this is a profound look at women's desire and women's sexuality. It is not. It is a seedy, disgusting look at sexual dysfunction and women who are consumed with how men see them sexually and getting male approval. It is not about having sexual independence or agency to determine your own sex life and what you want to pursue. It is not that at all. So that link is below. That's all I want to say about that. The next one, I did not have an individual review, but this was included in a rant review. This is the only book I still physically have, because when I hate a book, I throw it away or I get rid of it. I just get it out of my house. The only reason I still have Unsheltered by Barbara Kingsolver is I loved the Poisonwood Bible, and I have several of her other books. I've read a couple of other books, and so I keep them as a set, maybe as a completist. But I'm starting to realize there's no need for me to hold on to books that I hate. This is a story of Willa Knox, and it's a time sequence, alternate time sequence format. So Willa Knox is in the current day time period. She and her family move. There's a job loss. They inherit this decrepit, crumbling home that is part of the older sequences in the book. Why did I hate this book? She is so preachy and so whiny in the narrative. Not just the main character, but Kingsolver in the writing of this book. The main character is constantly whining. She's making fun of millennials. She's whining about her daughter, who is trying to take care of her brother's child and wants to do the right thing. She makes fun of her daughter and yet thinks that her son, who has deserted his son, is the golden child, even though he's not that nice of a guy. There is a lot of complaining about her very ill father-in-law and the medical system in the U.S. She goes on, and Kingsolver obviously has a deep, dark hatred of Donald Trump. Some of us do. But it was just soaking in this book, and just the preachiness and the bitterness and the whininess. I could not stand it. But I finished it because it was a buddy read, and I wanted to talk about how much I hated it. What does that say about me? I don't really know. What does that say about me when I want to read a book that I hate? Because I either want or need to talk about it? I don't know. I'm not that negative of a person. I can be very cynical. I am fairly jaded at times, but why would a person bother hate reading a book? You got to tell me in the comments below if you've ever done it and what book it was, if you want to share that with me. The next one is this I did an individual review for, and I will be happy to link it below. It is Birdsong by Sebastian Faulks, a misogynistic piece of fictional crap. Again, this was a very recent video I did, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But the war writing about World War I was brilliant. The way the author treated female characters, what he said about them, what the dialogue was, the male characters' attitudes towards women, how they saw women, was absolutely offensive. So, that video is below. The next one, and I've railed against all these books, I think, except for Beartown and the last book I'm going to share with you. But the next one is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. And I have the book right over there, but I'm not going to take the time to get it. There was no need for The Handmaid's Tale to have a sequel. There was also no need for Margaret Atwood to share the 2019 Booker Prize with Bernardine Evaristo, who should have won it on her own for Girl, Woman, Other. The Handmaid's Tale, in my opinion, had a brilliant ending. It was, you didn't know what happened to Offred. You didn't know if she was safe or not. You didn't know if she had escaped Gilead. And the Testaments seemed to be a piece of fan fiction that Margaret Atwood wrote for herself and also was catering to viewers of the Hulu show, The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu goes far and beyond The Handmaid's Tale, the book. It expands on an imagination of the producers of the show, including Margaret Atwood, to come up with the story of after the book, The Handmaid's Tale. I just thought it was a mess. It was, like I said, it was fan fiction. It was done to pander to the viewers of a TV show. It didn't need to exist. And I really, really did not like it. Whew, I'm starting to feel better. The last book, and this author, because I've tried to read some of this author's other works, is The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. So I think I made this comment on another BookTubers video. It was Scott Nell from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. And I said about reading a Murakami book, or trying to understand Murakami, was like trying to smell the number yellow. And this book was so bizarre, The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, so twisted, bizarre, weirdly misogynistic. The girls are all wearing this crazy makeup, short skirts, tight shirts, and there's some sort of really weird magical sequences, fantasy, flighty sequences, some really violent scenes of war, torture, a lost cat. This whole book is about a man trying to track down his wife's lost cat when the wife disappears. The wife leaves. She's gone. He doesn't know what happened to her either. But this is such a twisted, weird narrative. And I tried to read Kafka on the Shore and couldn't stand that book either. And from what I hear about Murakami, you either love him or you hate him. And no, I tried. I don't love him. So he could be a very nice person. I don't know. Can't stand his books. Will never pick one up. I think I'm done with that. It's like therapy. It's like book therapy. Why do we bother reading books that we hate? I think I answered that for myself because I want to take a book down. I want to discuss why I think it's so bad. Either it's so poorly written, it's offensive, the story is misogynistic or misanthropic or hateful of any sort. Why does the story need to be written this way? Couldn't the author have made a different choice? Yes, somebody can write whatever they want about whatever they want, but it would still make it a bad book. And for the most part, these books are either, in my opinion, very poorly written. The narrative doesn't blend together. There's no good transitions. Again, it could be very offensive without being gratuitously offensive. There's a difference between something in a book that is, has to do with the story. instead of being gratuitously stuck in the narrative. So those are the reasons why I complete a hated book. I'm a big proponent of DNFing. So if I've finished a book and hate it, there's a very, very good, very strong reason for doing so. That's it for me. Let me know down below if you've done this, if you do it, what you think, if you want to tell me which books that you hated after you finished them. I would love to know. And, you know, the thumbs down, I know I'm going to get them, so bring those on too. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.